Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and with me tonight, as always, is my wonderful friend, my co-host, Dawn. Hello, Dawn. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, Miss Pam. I'm doing great, and I hope you are.
Of course. I'm always excited when we have a guest on the show that's as interesting as the guest that we have tonight.
Yes, very much indeed. I think we're in for a real treat, as are the listeners, and we want to say hello and welcome to the listeners as well.
Well, Dawn, since you went ahead and made the connections, I'm going to let you go ahead and let the guests know, or let our listeners know who our guest is.
Well, I will be happy to do that. Tonight, we have a film producer with us, and also, and he's no just any film producer. He's worked with some of the best talent out there in the recording industry, and he also is creator of a documentary called Please Subscribe. And please welcome Dan-dobi. Hello, Dan.
Hey, what's going on? Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, and thanks for joining us as always. We were looking, of course, at your website and different areas. We do research before we have a guest on. And I noticed on your website that under About Me, you said I'd fill this in later.
Well, you know what? If you're looking, my website. If you go to the front of my website, I haven't actually updated it since I think 2010. So it's going on almost 3 years of not even being updated. And I think, just the lack of people using actual websites nowadays. I just didn't think it was really important. I didn't really want to talk too much about me because at the end of the day, it's not really about me. It's just about what I'm doing and creating and producing. So it's not about me. It's about the work. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'd like to know a little bit about you, how you got started, and photography, I'm assuming, is your first thing that you got started with?
Yeah, I would say that, when I started, it kind of went hand in hand with the photography and videography and just filming stuff and whatnot. But, my brother, Rob, is primarily the photographer of the family, and I mostly work within video and stuff. I started I had my first camera when I was 12 years old, and, that's, just from there, I remember when senior year of high school, when I was looking at things to do, I was like, I was always in the video, film lab, just kind of hanging out in my free time on my off periods, just hanging out there, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. At that point when I was applying to colleges and stuff, I was like, I guess I'm going to be a gym teacher. Kickball for 30 years sounds pretty cool. So, and then eventually my video teacher was like, you should go to school for film, and I'm like, you can do that? I can do this for my life. So that's kind of, I guess, how it got started. And then after that, I've always had a camera in my hand, and I've just always had a kind of a passion for it.
Dawn?
Well, sorry. I'm sorry. No, I think that what you're doing is phenomenal. I know that it is well known that you have worked with some of the biggest musical artists, such as Jason Mraz and Paramore and P. Diddy and Soulja Boy, and the list goes on and on. And so for you, how did you come to be able to do that, to work with some of these people?
I don't like to say that I was in the right place at the right time or that it was luck, but I guess it was a mix between that and just kind of working really hard and just kind of, I've been in Los Angeles for about 7 years. I'm originally from Connecticut, and, I graduated film school and said I'm just going to go out to L.A. I knew no one. I knew actually one film kind of director guy that I kind of mentored under for a few months, and after that, you kind of just fall into it, I think, if you just really go at it hard and, you work for free or next to nothing for the first, year, I'd say. A lot of people come out to Los Angeles and they say, oh, it must be easy because he did it. And no, it's like, the first year I was there, I was living in a bunk bed in a room, sharing a room with one of my friends, and I was living in an office. So it's definitely tough to.
Well, at least you weren't in your backseat of your car or something,
I haven't done that yet, but yeah. No, I guess just you start, you make relationships, you work hard, And I have people who who want to work for me or do internships for me all the time, and you can tell if people want to do it or if they just think that if this is like a get rich quick job, which it totally isn't. Anyone who's ever asked me like, oh, how is it like moving out to LA? It's like, for me, 7 years ago, I lived in a bunk bed for a year, and it was ramen noodles and ramen noodles. And that was it. I didn't go out. I worked hard, and that was it. And eventually, if you just become obsessed with what you're doing, you kind of figure it out. And, it never seemed to me like it was work. It always seemed like this is a fun job. Like I'm still a senior year, still a senior in high school, playing in like the video department with cameras and computers and stuff. So it still doesn't seem like work to me.
Well, that's when you enjoy doing what you're doing, makes it the best part, because you can have a job and you hate what you're doing and you're not going to last there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in terms of some of the talent that you've worked with, who do you think, in your opinion, if you can say, that has been the easiest to work with in terms of what you do?
You know what? A band I grew up listening to, who's probably one of my all-time favorite bands. They're a ska band from Boston, Big D and the Kids Table. I've done probably over maybe 5 or 6 videos for them, and the last decade, and they're always fun. I've known them as like kind of friends before. I've known them through business and stuff, and they're always easy. They're always like, hey, just do what you want. They always have a vision as well, but for the most part, they're always really easy to work with. And speaking of which, I just did a video for my friends up in Seattle called The Classic Crime, and they just released a video that I just did for them on Monday, and they're always really fun to work with. I've known them for, I think, 6.5 years, I'd say. Worked with them. I think I've done like 3 or 4 videos for them. And we just did one a couple months ago in Seattle, and they are really easy and fun to work with. And it's really fun to work with a band or an artist who allows you to just do your thing. Like, hey, this is your profession. This is what you have trained, and this is what you went to school for, and you're dedicating your life to. And when artists do that to a director or any a producer or anyone who's creative, it makes their job a lot easier rather than them wanting their hands in it and moving everything around. Yeah.
Well, and in the grand scheme of things, they're really, I would think, somewhat relying on you, because they're counting on you to get that perfect shot, that perfect angle, to make them look as good as they can possibly look in a video, or even in a photo shoot. And, so what you do is going to be very important to them, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're also regarded as a very, oh my gosh, I lost my words, a content creator and distributor for as far as YouTubers and that go. They highly regard you, and look up to you. How did you get started on YouTube?
I got started, I think, like 3.5 years ago. You know what? Those are very nice words that you said. I have a very niche specific audience, and half the time I don't even know what they want to see from my channel, or what I don't even know what I'm putting out on my channel anymore. But in the last, 7-8 months, when I've done this documentary, I've kind of stopped uploading as much as I used to on YouTube, and kind of just focused on this story that kind of, tells the story about YouTubers. So I'm not so much uploading YouTube, but I'm still in that game where I'm like, I'm looking to kind of like spread the word and kind of, just make a film about YouTube.
Well, before we go on to your documentary about please subscribe, I wanted to say I watched the one video on YouTube. I believe it was your mom, and she was playing the video game, and you were telling her how to do it. That was hysterical. And that's not something that I normally watch. And then you tell her to put the quarter in the box because the game was over.
Yeah, well,
and she was looking where to put it.
Well, you know what? It's actually I kind of did some editing trickery with it, with the ending scene. She knew I was joking, but I kind of did like a little kind of mini voiceover. My mom knew that there was obviously no quarters going into the Wii U, but it's funny. I just thought it would be funny to show my mom playing you know, a new Nintendo system because, you know, when the Wii U came out, it came out with, you know, Super Mario Brothers, you know,
right.
and it's a very similar, you know, it's jump and it's a side scroller. You go left or right, you jump, you run, you know, you get firepower, and it's funny because, you know, 20-something years ago when the original Nintendo came out when I was just a kid, you know, my parents got it for us, and my mom kind of taught us how to play it, and so I thought it'd be funny, like, why don't I let my mom play, you know, Mario 20-something years later and just see what happens. So it's pretty funny.
It was funny. I loved it.
Thanks.
Well, the hilarious aspect about that is I have a similar story I can relate. My mom just actually learned to text like about 4 or 5 months ago, and now she's a texting beast, and I think we've created a monster. And so if I were to ever see her play a video game, it would be hilarious. I mean, it would be, we'd have to pull out the video camera and shoot it. It would just be so hilarious. And and so I can certainly appreciate that. That video that you made, it was just unbelievable. It was off the chain funny. So
thanks.
but let's talk about this documentary, Please Subscribe. First of all, I have to commend you and give you props because it is, when I watched it, I was so intrigued and so interested. I mean, that's a whole side of YouTube that I didn't even, I mean, I've heard of channels and you know, I know there's shows, but I didn't realize just how far into YouTube you could actually get. And your documentary really did a good job of showcasing some of the YouTubers that are really big, and also in talking about a lot of the ins and outs of it. You know, it is really not a matter, if you're a serious diehard YouTuber, it's not a matter of just making a video of yourself and uploading it. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to pull off this kind of thing. You know, so talk a little bit, what was your inspiration and how did you come about, you know, making Please Subscribe?
When I was, you know, there was a few months where I was super consistent with it, and we did a show called Duncan Rocks with one of my best friends, Steve Rogowski, and Duncan Rocks was actually played by Andrew Santino, who's these guys are some of my really close friends. You know, we were pretty consistent with the show, and we were taking it kind of to the next level, and we were doing it weekly, and we had a weekly show that we were doing it. So, and we, you know, every time we did it, we had someone either, you know. We you know, every now and again we tried to have a guest on the show, and we were you know, we worked hard at it, and after a while we were just kind of down each other's throats. You know, we were like, oh my God, this is so much work, like, oh, you know, and like we love doing it, we absolutely love doing it, but it was a lot of work. It wasn't like you sit down and you do it, even though you just sit down and you do it, but like we had to write it beforehand, and we had to light it, we had to tear apart my living room, and we had to, you know, think of what was trending that week and what did the kids want to see and what did the fans want to hear about. And it, you know, it was a full-time thing. It wasn't like, okay, I say it's a full-time thing, and it is for a lot of people, but like, you know, it sucked up, you know, hours out of our certain day, and then hours editing, and then uploading, and then responding to comments. And it's not like you put it up and you let it go. You have to promote it. You have to go on all these social, you know, sites and really get the word out. So it's I mean, what inspired me to do it is that, you know, I was doing this pretty consistently, and a lot of, like, you know, people from, you know, Facebook who I haven't talked to in years would catch on and see it. You know, people I went to high school with or college with, and said, "What is this thing? This is awesome. I love this. You know, how do you do it? What, you know?" And, you know, some family members would be like, you know, "I don't get it. What is this for?" And I'm like, you know, it's for YouTube. You know, this is, you know, it's kind of like a show. It's kind of like new TV, you know.
Entertainment,
people,
right.
Yeah, a lot of people go onto YouTube and watch specific shows that aren't on TV, and, you know, having, you know, uploading to TV, you know. But, no, but like when you like, because you can't upload to TV, it's hard. You have to go through, you know, broadcast networks and this and that, and clearances, and, you know, I've known this from doing music videos, you know, if like the gamma correction is wrong with a certain, you know, shot, then they're going to throw it back at you. And I've gone through that so many times where it's, you know, like YouTube is easy, you know, it's